Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I want to say thank you for the chance so that my group can introduce our material. This topic is talking about American literature, contemporary period in 1945, presented by Group 10. Okay, let's get started. In 1940 marked the beginning of the contemporary period of American literature. This period includes an abundance of important American literary figures spanning from World War II into the new millennium. By the turn of the 21st century, American literature had become a much more complex and inclusive story grounded on a wide-ranging body of past writings produced in the United States by people of different backgrounds and open to more Americans in the present day. Literature written by African Americans during the contemporary period was shaped in many ways by Richard Reich, whose autobiography, Black Boy, was published in 1945. He left the United States for France after World War II. Repulsed by the injustice and discrimination he faced as a black man in America. Other black writers working from the 1950s through the 1970s also wrestled with the desires to escape unjust society and to change it. The American novels took on a dizzying number of forms after World War II. Realist, metafictional, postmodern, absurdist, autobiographical, short, long, fragmentary, feminist, stream of consciousness. These and dozen more labels can be applied to beyond their chronological proximity and engagement with contemporary American society.
Late 20th century American culture is often characterized in terms of its plurality and eclecticism. The diversification of cultural forms, particularly in visual and digital media, and broader horizons about what constitutes cultural production have contributed to an environment in which being black, poor, or female no longer stands in the way of talent or strength of vision. Types of genre in contemporary literature. The first one is classic fiction genre. This genre is made up of stories, novels, plays, poems, and films. Everything imaginary and invented by it presented as a mirror that reflects life and human experience in a concert or abstract way. Second is graphic novels. The graphic novel is usually interpreted as a cartoon with a long narrative for a mature audience, published in a hardcore or rustic and sold in bookstores with serious literary themes and sophisticated works of art. The third is literature for children. The last 20 years have seen a flowering of writing for children. The fourth is science fiction. Science fiction is a very popular branch in contemporary literature. This is intertwined with the technological progress of the world. However, literary works of science fiction don't necessarily imply a solid scientific basis, as a writer can create a science fiction literary work to express an alternative point of view or concept. The characteristic in contemporary literature, the first one is personal point of view. The works of contemporary literature reflected the social and political views of their authors. These are shown through the characters, the connection with the events, and the socio-economic message of their works. The second is innovative narrative resources. There is a break with previous narrative techniques. Contemporary literature uses avant-garde narrative resources such as the modification of time and the presentation of the inner world of the characters. The third is magical realism. The development of magical realism as a narrative techniques represent a breakthrough in the 20th century contemporary literature. This revolutionary techniques is marked by a deep social and political character. The fourth is the pressing issues. Most of the themes of the contemporary literature are related to the overwhelming problems of the world now, such as the globalization, race, gender, inequality, climate and environment, wars, and terrorism. The fifth is influence of World War II. The works of contemporary literature tend to be influenced by the prose lifestyle that followed by World War II. This literary style has the roots in the devastation that war brought to the world.
Okay, let's move to the notable author, such as Ralph Ellison's novel Invisible Man in 1952 tells the story of an unnamed black man adrift in and ignored by America. And then there is James Baldwin, wrote essays, novels, and plays on race and sexuality throughout his life, but his first novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, in 1953, was his most accomplished and influential. And then there is Lauren Hansberry's Rising in the Sun, a play about the effects of racism in Chicago, was first performed in 1959. And there is Gwendolyn Brooks, become in 1950 the first African American poet to win a Pulitzer Prize. The Black Arts Movement was grounded in the tenets of Black nationalism and sought to generate a uniquely Black consciousness. The autobiography of Malcolm X in 1965 by Malcolm X and Alex Haley is among its most lasting literary expressions. And then there is Toni Morrison's first novel, The Blues A, in 1970, launched a writing career that would put the lives of Black women at its center. She received a Nobel Prize in 1993, and then there is in the 1960s, Alice Walker began writing novels, poetry, and short stories that reflected her involvement in the civil rights movement.
Here is literary works from contemporary period. The first is The Last Illusion by Porosita Kakpur. Porosita Kakpur was born in 1978, is an Iranian-American novelist and essayist. Born in Tehran, Iran, Kakpur was raised in South Pasadena, California, and the Los Angeles area. Kakpur attended Sarah Lawrence College in New York for her BA, majoring in creative writing and literature. She received her MA from Johns Hopkins University and the Johns Hopkins Writing Seminars. After receiving her MA, she was a lecturer and an Elliott Coleman Fellow at Johns Hopkins University. The Last Illusion tells about Iranian village Jal's demented mother, horrified by the failure of his skin and hair. He's convinced she has given birth to a white demon. She hides him in a bird cage for the next decade. Rescued by a behavior analyst, Jal awakens in New York to the possibility of future. A stunned and unfit adolescent, he strives to become human as they stumbles toward adulthood. As New York survives one potential disaster, Y2K, and begin hurtling toward another, 9/11, Jal finds himself in a case of fellow outsider, a friendship with a famous illusionist who claims to the bird boy's delight that he can fly, and an affair with a disturbed artist who believes she is clairvoyant, send Jal's life spiraling into chaos. Like the rest of New York, he is on a collision course with devastation. The second literary work is Badawi from Laila Abdelrojak. Laila Abdelrojak is a Palestinian author and artist. Her debut graphic novel, Badawi, was shortlisted for the 2015 Palestine Book Award and has been translated into the 3 languages. She is also the creator of a number of zines and short comics. Badawi is a story of a young boy named Ahmad struggling to find his place in the world. Raised in a refugee camp called Badawi in northern Lebanon, Ahmad is just one of the many thousands of refugee children born to Palestinians who fled their homeland after the war in 1948 established the State of Israel. In this visually arresting graphic novel, Leila Abdul-Rajab explores her father's childhood in the 1960s and 70s. From a boy's eyes view as he witnesses the world crumbling around him and attempts to carry on, forging his own path in the midst of terrible uncertainty.
That's all from us. Thank you very much for your attention. May all those we have shared about will be beneficial for all of us. Thank you.